Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, the hearing has just concluded from the SEC versus Ripple and the motions to hear deliberative process privilege, and we're going to get into it because we did a play-by-play thread for everyone, and the XRP price before the hearing started went on a real tear. Let's just roll that beautiful intro. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here today, $2.092 trillion. And XRP absolutely went ballistic, sitting at about 111, 112, around that area right there. And right minutes before the hearing started, ran all the way up to 123.59, sitting at 118.92 right now. A lot of people feeling very excited about what's going on. And I think you may too when you hear this. A reminder right now, link to linqto.com, link in the description box. Private investing made simple, ladies and gentlemen. You will be able to get Ripple shares, SPVs, tomorrow, and it's about 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It goes quickly. Don't mess around. Get yourself verified, get accredited, and get some of that. All right, looking right here, this is where we start today. The hearing was straight fire, and I have to say the SEC sounded like the guy who didn't do his homework and then had nothing really good to say about it. I mean, there was a lot of rambling and just kind of, the judge even at one point just had to cut in. Well, actually, a couple different times had to cut in because it was just legal babble is what it is. The only thing look, I'm 12 years short of a law degree, but it was not a good day for the SEC. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. And there were some delays, as always. There's a lot of people signing into the conference and stuff like that. But nevertheless, it finally started. We were off to the races. XRP, again, you could see was pumping as high as 123. It was 122 at that time. And here, reminder that if you did, you better not record or rebroadcast. It is strictly prohibited by the court and law. So I would not be fooling around with any of that if any of you did that. So hearing the motion on deliberative privilege and the Slack motion from Ripple's Slack Communications has been pushed back. They did not hear that today. The judge made it very clear in the start of that we're going to focus on the deliberative process privilege today. So that's what the point of focus was. And starting right here, the judge asked questions about Brad and Chris aiding and abetting, and it appears she was trying to determine what, if anything, would be applicable and what may be dismissed. And we know that Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, and Chris want that to be dismissed. Matthew Solomon just literally was on fire today. Very patient, very clear, very concise about everything that he made a point on, and he was so confident, but I mean a quiet confidence, not an arrogance, right? That's really what we see out of the SEC. But Solomon really made a great points about how there was no reason for any of these motions against Brad or Chris to be continued, honestly. And Solomon making the case that the SEC was not clear about XRP security designation or not. And then it went on from there to say that Solomon continues to distinguish why the precedent cases that were put forth by the SEC do not support the SEC's argument against Ripple or the individuals. And it was quite a case that he made for that. And I wish that we could play it for you, but we can't, so we won't. But he made one hell of a layout on that, and it was unbelievable. So Solomon was completely on fire, very patient and clear, like I said, delivering his points. He is crushing the SEC case at that time, and he really was, and he continued to do so all the way through that. Looking here, then they moved and pivoted, and this is where they went to the deliberative process privilege, which is what the SEC has been using to refuse to cough up documents that have been asked or requested by Ripple themselves. And this is where it really got interesting, because the SEC has got themselves in a bit of a bind right now. now. And I tell you, I'm liking it a lot because there's no getting out of it. And you'll see in just a second here. And moving to question about the deliberative process and whether the SEC should have the right to regulate digital assets, making the point that the SEC refuses to cough up documents, only giving up 40 documents for which 29 are still being held, which means they've only gotten 11. And apparently 11 of those documents that they have received are heavily redacted. So there's a bunch of and, but, and though on the paper, and everything else is blacked out essentially, right? So here, excuse me, then it was the SEC's turn to answer why they should not have to give up documents that were requested or heavily redacted. And this is where it started to get really good as we move through all of this. And SEC argued that Ripple wants too broad of a request for SEC documents. The judge started to push back immediately on the SEC, questioning the subjective versus the objective test to whether Brad Garlinghouse knew XRP was a security. The SEC was clearly scrambling to find solid ground to make their argument, and Jorge Tenreiro was trying his damnedest, but it was not happening. And I'm telling you, when I'm telling you that the judge was pushing back on that, the judge was clearly pushing back on that idea. And in fact, at one point, she even said to an example that Jorge Tenreiro had made, she said, that is not an objective test. You just gave me an example of a subjective test. And there was a legal difference that is very big there. So that was a point of contention. Then it was the SEC is trying to defend its weak position. And it really felt like we were listening to someone who didn't do their homework and was trying to explain why it's okay that they didn't do it. It really felt like SEC, what a circus. I tell you, there is a huge gap for the credibility at the SEC right now. Shame, shame, shame. And if you're on Twitter, you should retweet the hell out of this thread here. And the judge is trying to sort out through the nonsense that was just spewed from Jorge Tenreiro, who went on a babble expedition, where it was just legal babble expedition until the judge cut in a couple times to really just kind of get him to land a plane. You know, I'm 12 years short of a law degree, but whatever the SEC just said, I can guarantee you we were all dumber for having heard it. I know it is a process, but the judge has the patience of Job is what it felt like to me. But I tell you, I'm starting to feel like the judge is about ready to see this thing come to an end and bring this thing in for a landing. Because I'm going to tell you, they referenced in here documents about FSOC, which we talk about all the time on this channel, the FSB, FSOC being the Financial Stability Oversight Council, regulatory agency connected to the Treasury. We also talked about the FSB, which is the Financial Stability Board connected to the G20. The judge is drilling at that point, Jorge Tenreiro. The judge is suggesting at that point a in-camera review for the documents that have been requested by Ripple. So essentially, an in-camera review is that it would be looked over by the judge in her chambers. So you could hear in Jorge Tenreiro's voice that that is the last thing he wanted to hear. That is the last thing he wanted to hear, because I believe he knows, as well as everybody at the SEC knows, whatever those documents are that they're holding back are damning to them. That's what I think. And I'll tell you right now, Jorge Tenreiro suggested that Ripple would be getting special treatment. Careful, SEC. You may be upsetting the judge herself. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that judges don't like that kind of talk. SEC argued Ripple doesn't give up docs. Why should the SEC? And it went further than that. The judge pushed even further for the in-camera review, which would only allow the judge to see them and not Ripple unless the judge makes a ruling on each document. You could tell the SEC again didn't want any of that for them. And the judge pushing back on the special treatment comment as well. You could tell she didn't get too heavy on it, but she certainly brought it up. Like, they don't see where you're seeing special treatment here. In-camera review means the judge only would see the documents and would rule on those documents individually. right? So looking here, SEC is backing up their comments about special treatment. Judge appears to say, you will give me the documents and I will rule on each one if they are applicable. The SEC has no choice but to honor her requests, and she confirmed she wants those documents. Ladies and gentlemen, that's forward motion right there. And that is exciting to me. The judge allows the SEC to submit the documents with limited redactions, but she absolutely wants the documents given to her. She'll rule on those documents afterwards. The judge is directing, the SEC that they have 2 weeks to file and submit a letter for documents requested. It appears to be the judge can smell the SEC is intentionally holding pertinent documents back, claiming deliberative privilege process. And those are my thoughts. That's how I feel from what I heard today, that she can smell that there's something there of why they're not coughing up those documents and trying to use that broad exclusion of the DPP, right? Solomon final words were arguing the point of recklessness, objective versus subjective again before they left the hearing, also arguing about the SEC notes and documents, and says the SEC has been using the sword and shield approach against Ripple, and they reiterate the DPP has been abused by the SEC as well. The sword and shield approach is that, hey, come on in and you can see us and we'll help you through this process, right? And then turn around and stabbing you after there's been no clarity and basically saying, oh, by the way, you're a security and you should have known it all along. And they even Ripple even cited that they have some kind of document from Jay Clayton that showed and exhibited that kind of behavior and approach towards Ripple. Now, when you start to factor in all of this and understand that Jay Clayton and William Hinman really gave the free pass to Ethereum and then go on to work at places that benefit from Ethereum's success, all of this becomes quite questionable, doesn't it? Look, that's going to do it for me. What a day this was. I have to say, huge win for forward motion for this case, and certainly for Ripple at this time as well. What we really need is what Jeremy Hogan has told us, and I cannot wait for his breakdown of this as well. And I know you all can't either. I can't wait for the moment we get to where the judge rules on the fair notice defense, because if she allows the fair notice defense, and I mean, at this point, I don't know if we could see a reason why she wouldn't. I think that'd be the fastest way to see us head towards a settlement. There it is. Make sure you check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, I Trust Capital is the best way to get your crypto tax-free. The only thing better than buying crypto is buying crypto tax-free. You can do it on I Trust Capital. Make sure you check out also 99-cent 7-day special for a VPN. Help hide your anonymity online. And Ledger Nano sales links. Check them out. Catch you all on the next one.